Hey everybody, we are down in the shop and we're gonna do the water experiment with the waves. What we have set up here is a baking dish filled with water. It's sitting on top of a white piece of paper with a bright light shining over it. The goal is to show the waves that are happening inside the pan. So if you just, tap the side of the table, you can see the wave patterns. Can you see that?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. And then what the experiment asked you to do was to take a single point, like a pencil or something, and just make a splash in the middle, which is kind of hard because you're kind of casting a shadow. Maybe if we did it over here, you can see the wave patterns radiating out from that single point. Okay, so that was the first part of the experiment, and you can see that. The second part of the experiment was to have 2 points. And to see the interference between them.
What's interference?
So the interference is the 2 wave patterns as they cross, and if we did it just synchronized, you would see kind of a whole bunch of crosses up and down the side of the pan. The problem with doing it in a small pan like this is you also get the reflections off of the wall. So instead of just getting your single points like you would get in a very large pond, you're also getting the reflection of those waves off the corners, and so it gets distorted very quickly. But basically, yeah, you can see interference as you like tap. So that's the second experiment. The third experiment is to see what happens if you put a block in the water. Oops. You need something heavier to sit on that. There we go. And then to see how the waves move around that block. So, one of the main things that they pointed out is you did your reading in the books was that it doesn't act, they're trying to figure out if it's a wave or a particle. And if it was a particle, if light was a particle and this was the source of the light, you would expect to see waves going straight off of here and it would never come around the corner. So you would only be able to project particles, and anywhere there was a thing, there would be a shadow that was exactly like the shape that you were doing. But as you can see, as we do this, I don't see it very well.
I do see waves kind of moving around the edge.
So you can also see wave forms over here. This is also where it gets complicated because you're getting reflections
off the side of the pan.
Off the side of the pan.
Reflections or waves?
Reflections of waves. The wave.
Yeah, I can see it moving across the backside.
Yeah. So you can put a block in the pan and you can like tap around it. And then that'll show you, oh, that looks pretty good. So definitely coming off this point, I can see it radiating around that corner.
Mm-hmm.
You see that?
Yep.
Levi had a great idea earlier, and I almost think that if you could have an eyedropper, it would make better waves. See that? As it drips off the end of my...
Oh yeah, definitely.
Nice waves. Okay. So that's that one. The next one is to make a... This is... Okay, so you got to remember that blocks of wood float. So unless you have really dense wood, you might have to put something on top of them to make this go. And then we're going to try to create a wave that is projecting from this end. So we cut this kind of block to make these waves. So they're like coming in off the ocean all the way across rather than just a point.
I can see them wrapping around the block.
You should be able to see them wrap around the block. You see that?
Right. Like this is, they're coming around like this.
And what I'd really like to do is go get the kiddie pool and like fill it up and like have a really big
tsunami,
but it's not very conducive for... Okay.
That would be a tsunami.
Okay, so that's that one where you block off part, and what you should see is the waves coming across here and then coming around this edge. You can see them kind of making the corner.
Okay.
Oh, nice waves. Nice waves. Okay. And then the final one
Oh yeah, that was definitely, I could see that better.
is what happens when you make a point. So there's only one small channel that the water can flow through. And then you'll see just make it go up and down. See if we can get just an up and down wave. And you can see every once in a while you get a nice wave. And instead of like this flat wave coming to the point, you actually see another almost like a point wave, and you see that radiating around much like when we were doing this.
So it's like the wave starting all over again.
Yeah, so it's like a single origin, even though this is like a single path of waves coming here, but then when it gets here, it radiates out like it was a single point.
Now, how would that be different if it were a particle?
So you would expect if it was a particle, just add in a little more weight. If it was a particle, a series of particles all shooting out this way, then you would only see a wave coming straight here, just right through this channel here, and you wouldn't see any waves out here. So if light was a particle, and this is all confusing because this is actually waves, and we're talking like waves are light because they use that as the illustration, but really what they're saying is if you had a whole bunch of beams of light shining this direction, you would expect to only see light come through this one slot. But instead what you see is this radiant pattern. So,
Like a half circle pattern.
yeah.
Like the wave starting all over.
Yep.
Beginning from a new point.
You could say it a couple more different ways.
I could say it a couple more different ways. Yes, I could.
Okay. That's our experiment for waves. That's it.
Okay, so the next experiment in lesson 18 is the Not All Shadows Are Black experiment. And that one is best done if you watch the link. I had the stuff to do it, but they do a really good job on the link. So go ahead and watch that for lesson 18. And then we will post another experiment set for the next one. I know this one was for last week. Thanks, guys. Hope you're having a great time with science at home.